is What School Didn't Teach Me, a podcast meant to build community on all the things school didn't prepare you for. Hi, I'm your host, Jasmine Camber, and class is in session. Welcome to the classroom. It's your host, Jasmine Camber, and I'm so excited to have you today. This is the What School Didn't Teach Me podcast. If this is your first time here, What School Didn't Teach Me is a podcast where we, take the idea that we are supposed to wake up and have it all together, and we take it and we ball it up and we throw it in the trash. Because the truth is, no matter what age you are in, no matter what stage of life you are in, there are some things you literally can only learn in the school of life. There are some things that school can't teach you. There's some things that your mama can tell you, but you still have to learn on your own. And so why learn those things individually when we can come and talk about it together in this space so that we know we are not alone in whatever we are going through. So if this is your first time here, I hope you stick around. I hope you like us enough to stay. If you like what you see already, follow us, like, comment, subscribe, share with somebody you love. And then if you are an OG classmate, you already know how I feel about you. I love you down. This season, we've been talking about representation and representation. So just acknowledging and understanding that, we all want to be somebody one day. We all want to walk into who we are, become the best version of ourselves. But what does that really look like if we haven't seen it before, right? So it's been really, really important to me to have very specific conversations around just being honest about who you are, where you are, how you got where you were, et cetera, et cetera. And so I'm super, super excited for today's conversation. I'm super, super excited for today's guest. Today, I don't think I've had artists on the pod, but like I've never had a composer on the pod. So today I have a composer. I have the artistic director of South Side Symphony. I have Dr. Marcus Norris on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. The honor is mine.
Yes, I'm so excited that you're here. Now, a little backstory on Marcus Norris. Dr. Marcus Norris. We got introduced because you started doing South Side Sessions, which was an abbreviated version, right, of your South Side Symphony Orchestra in Inglewood. Yeah, tell us a little more about that.
Yeah, so South Side Symphony is this large fusion orchestra that I started. I had the idea. I was like, what if the orchestra didn't exist and it was invented today by a young black man? What would that look like? Where would they play? What kind of music would they play? Would it be the music of 300-year-old dead European white guys? Probably not. Probably be playing like fun stuff that was relevant to our
Yeah.
lives. And so, I'm blessed enough to start that, and we do these big concerts. But like those concerts are like so much work and so much money and so much planning, and they're the joy of my life. So I'm not complaining, but I wanted to be able to do something in between those
Yeah.
concerts. And so I had this idea of doing these like stripped down versions that were like more like a MTV Unplugged. I don't know if that still happens, or like a Tiny Desk or something like that, where we have, a singer, like a jazz combo, and a couple strings in like a more intimate space where you could kind of just like feel these like musical hugs. And that's where the Southside Session idea came from. And we did like I think 5 over 6 months for the first season, and it was amazing. Introduced me to you and your mom, so we're great.
No, yeah, it was great. And honestly, so mom and I went to I think you all did. Okay, if you all did 5, then we went to 4 out of 5 of them. And it was literally like every first Thursday, we already knew what we were doing. Like literally, don't schedule anything, don't plan anything. We bought our tickets however far in advance we could have so that we could make sure we were there. Because so mom and I will I don't want to go too far too fast, but mom and I are really, really huge on the arts. And so it's not a lot of opportunity to one, get access to that. Because usually orchestras are going on tours or XYZ, like, you've got this one night only kind of thing. Yeah. And so for you to be there consistently, one, and then two, for it to be so intimate, and for you to encourage us to like gain community with these artists, like clap for these artists, interrupt these artists, like interact with them. That's definitely not something we saw, in a lot of other spaces. So it was a joy to be in the space. It was a privilege for sure.
It was so if it didn't show while I was there, I was having so much fun.
Yeah, yeah,
Because like you said, like you don't get to ask like I can't ask Beethoven, hey, why is this a F sharp there and not an F? Or what were you going through in your life when you wrote that? But what's dope about like the South Side sessions or the South Side Symphony shows, like with living composers, is like you can totally just ask.
yeah,
Like Josh played one of the concerts, my boy Jay Quality, and it's like, no, you can totally just like meet him at the bar during the intermission and just say like, hey man, what were you going through? What made you choose that song?
yeah.
And I kind of love that aspect about it.
Yeah, me too. Me too. One of the Cool Common Collected, that group, I was actually able to walk up to, I believe his name is Tyler. The Okay,
Tyler.
I was able to walk up to him and like, okay, why is that your it was a song that he liked, and I think it was like the second song they did, and he was like, like, this is my favorite song. And I'm like, why? Like, and we actually got to sit there and talk. So yes, that space is definitely needed so that people understand artists a little bit more.
It's a whole nother level of like appreciation and engagement with the art that like I don't know. I'm very, very big on you can't separate the art from the artist or like, the people from the
Yeah.
music. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so I don't know. I curated it around like that aspect. It was always like intrinsic to the idea for me.
Yeah. Okay. I have to ask because it's on my mind, and then we'll run it back to the beginning so we don't go too far too fast. Why do you feel like you can't separate the art from the artist? I know
I,
that's like a
mhm.
controversial thing, so I just wanted to hear your thoughts.
Well, I think it's used in a lot of different ways, and there's some ways that I agree and some ways that I
Yeah.
don't. Like I can see like XYZ artist has music that I grew up listening to. They turn out to be a terrible person who harms people. Um, in some instances, it's like I'm not saying that you can't like listen to their music no more. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. It just depends on you. So I mean it less in that way, and I meant it more in the way of like you can't separate the people from the music in that like you know, eh, you gave me permission to just speak my truth. I think like in America and in the world especially, there's like this big um this undying love for black music. There is not the same undying love for black
Mm,
people.
yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it's like it's just always since the beginning of recorded music, there has been like, okay, cool. Well, let's make that black music and let's have like these white artists do
Yeah.
it, or there was some controversy recently around like K-pop artists and these things, like just kind of doing their best 2000s R&B impressions, and so I'm just always big on like I won't let people separate the music from the people.
Yeah.
Like I remember when Prince died, I've always been a big Prince fan. I remember people being like, not people, but like news articles and some of the discourse was just around like he transcended race. No,
No.
no, he
No, he
didn't
did not.
transcend. Like, no, he 1,000,000% was a black musician playing black music and was very adamant
Yeah.
about that. They did the same. It's not necessarily art, but they did the same when Muhammad Ali died. They were like,
Mm,
he transcended. No, he was very much passionate about the black community, about these things.
yeah.
And so I meant it more in that way than like we can't hold people responsible for like how it's often used. Um, More so in the like you can't separate like the people from the art.
Yeah.
And I see this happen so much in the music industry. And so I'm like always trying to be vocal about that and like, okay, cool. If you want if you want me to record the score for this show or movie or whatever it is, it's like, well, then I got to use my guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, no disrespect to the big Hollywood orchestras because they're amazing. They do a specific thing, but this sound,
It's
the
completely
the
else.
the the South Side sound, the Marcus Norris sound, that's intrinsic with these people.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's good. Okay. I wanted to pick your brain on that, and I'm glad I did. That was real good.
That's a good question. That's a good question.
Okay. Well, yes. Take us to the very, very beginning. Tell us more about you. Tell us how you started Southside Symphony, where that idea come from, where you got introduced to music, how you knew that was a passion. Just tell us all about you.
Oh man, that's a big one. Okay. So I grew up making beats. I started making beats when I was 13.
We saw
Um,
the picture of your makeshift stand. Okay, yes.
no hair here, all the hair here. Um, yeah, I mean, I grew up making beats. I grew up, we grew up really low income and stuff, so you just had to just make a
Yeah.
way. I like pieced together my first computer from like spare parts, if you can believe it.
Really?
Windows 98,
Oh my
like
gosh.
crazy, just to struggle. But I didn't care, man. I just loved it. Like it was just it wasn't even like at first I didn't even show my music to anybody. It was just my journal, and I just made music all day, every
Yeah.
day, for myself, just to be expressing something. Um, yeah, I mean, so I ended up. I was doing a lot of producing and stuff with my friends and rapping with my friends, and believe it or not, my first like musical introduction to the world was like diss rap.
I believe
Like
that.
we were
It
just
was a
like
lot of that.
beefing with everybody over here. Yeah, we were just beefing with everybody over there, and them guys don't like you, and you don't like them, and whatever. So that's just how we came up. That was the world at the time for
Yeah.
us, our world at the time. But then like when I was graduating high school, um, I wasn't really sure I was going to go to college. My found out my friends were going to college. Guys, I thought we were going to be rap gods. What are you doing?
It's not the
And
plan.
then so I had to come. Yeah, yeah. What? You nerds? I have a PhD now, so I can joke like that. It's like you dorks. What are you doing? And then, but I had got the time they were giving out this like. So I grew up outside Detroit in a town called Jackson,
Okay.
Michigan, and at the time the state was giving low income students like 2 years free to a community college.
Okay.
And so I was like, all right, well, let me find a community college that has something to do with like music production or something. I'm like, let me just anywhere. And I found one called Schoolcraft and it had a program in music recording technology. And I was all self-taught. So I'm like, all right, I'll learn something about something here. And but while I was there, I had to take as part of it, they made me take like basic materials in music theory,
Okay.
made me take some music history, and I got introduced to like these kinds of music, this orchestral music, some of these other things that I hadn't been exposed to,
Yeah.
coming from where I came from. And I got bit by the bug. I just really liked it. So I was like, I started like I took like 4 or 5 independent studies basically and learned like
Oh
every
wow.
piece of music theory I could get my hands on and jazz theory and all these things. And I was gonna move to Chicago after that, around like it's like 19, when I was like 19, and I was gonna try to go to Columbia, Chicago for audio production, like it's like engineering and stuff, like the
Mm-hmm.
science. But I'm like, all right, that'll probably help me get a job, and then I also graduated high school in 2009, so this was like the biggest global recession since like
Yeah.
the since like the Great Depression, and
Yeah.
basically it was like so. it kind of encouraged me in a weird way because I was like, okay, I'm looking at all these people who went with the safe bet. They went with the bet for like
Y-
business or whatever it may be,
Yeah.
like things that people told you if you do this, you can get you a job, and they ain't got no
Yeah.
jobs. So I was like,
So I got a
I was
shot.
like, you know what, I'm gonna just go for what I want to go for. And so at the last minute, I decided not to go for like this science engineering thing, and I just went for composition.
Okay.
And I did a lot of produce. I lived in Chicago for some years and did a ton of producing still, but then also was starting to learn this like orchestrating and all of these things at the same time. So kind of doing both of these worlds and kind of got obsessed with like putting them together,
Hmm.
like this the R&B and the jazz and the hip hop and all these stuff I grew up on, the gospel, and but then also like this like orchestral sound. Um, let's see, I bounced around a bit. I lived in Chicago for some years. I was in Miami for a couple years later, like three, and then I've been out in LA now for like I think like 8 years, 7, 8 years.
Okay.
So I wanted to be done with school. I didn't like just have this love of school in this way. But for me, it was like, okay, this will get me to LA and like at least give me a base. Um, and so I got a fellowship to get my PhD at UCLA in composition.
Okay.
And I'm like, all right, this gives me like 4 or 5 years to try it and see how I like it.
Hmm.
And when I came out here for the interview at UCLA was the first time I had ever been here, and I was just walking around checking stuff out. And I was like, just thinking about how many people there are here and how much like infrastructure, as far as all these like arts organizations and
Yeah.
everything. And I was like, I'm gonna get out here and I'm gonna start my own orchestra,
Yeah.
and we gonna play cool stuff. I was like, and I just want it to be fun because like if you think about orchestras and you think about all these things, like even if they're like very, very impressive, which they often are, or enriching, all these words you might use for it, you never use the word fun.
Yeah.
you know? And I basically knew that like I knew like I was looking around and I'm like, okay, I think even after 2020, after like the George Floyd stuff, like the orchestras are in the US, I think are like 1.8% black people. And I'm sure the number of like people that they're like composers that they're playing is even like way lower.
Okay.
And none of them are playing like juvenile, back that thing.
Right.
Like none of them are playing like stuff I would like to play. So I basically just knew I was like nobody is gonna give me the opportunity, and that's just how I was raised too. Like nobody's gonna give me the opportunity to do this thing that I want to
Yeah.
do. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to do it myself.
That 1.8%, is that just, are those musicians themselves?
Hmm.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, only 1.8%. So no one's gonna like hire the people that I would like to hire and support that community. And also no one's gonna give me the opportunity
Yeah.
to write the kind of music I want to write, to do all these things. So I realized I'm like, okay, if you want this to happen, if you want this to exist in the world, you're
You
gonna
have to
have to be the
create it.
person that's gonna make it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And it was just a dream of mine. Like as far as like why, I just thought it'd be cool. I thought it'd be fun.
I think that is so cool that you are now doing something. Hold on. I agree. I think some of the happiest people in life, and I think some of the best things in life, is when you can make what you love what you do. And so I think
Amen.
it's very, very cool that you have found a way to do something that we have seen nobody else do. Like, to be meshing, you didn't necessarily pick one thing. You like the orchestra, or you like orchestrative music. Am I saying that correctly? Orchestrated.
Orchestral music or
Orchestral. No,
orchestrated.
correct. Thank
Yeah,
you.
any of
Correct me.
those.
I need to be right. Or you like orchestral music or orchestral style music, but then you also like what you grew up on, and you found a way to marry those two worlds together. And then it was like, okay, well, I'm just going to keep going with what I love instead of I'm going to pick the safe route.
Because the safe route ain't always safe.
If the recession taught us anything, yeah. Yeah, yeah, I agree. And I definitely think nowadays people are starting to see. that what they want to do can make everything is not about money, but it's like what they want to do can sustain them. You know, what they want to do, they can do instead of keeping it, you know, as a hobby or as this secret thing that you love that you keep at bay, you know?
Yeah. I'm kind of like, just giving my honest opinion, like I'm kind of like of two minds of it. I think neither option is wrong right
Yeah.
now about this, like, should your hobby be a hobby or should it not be? Like, I just think my advice for people is just be like, be very, very sure. Like, if you're gonna make something your
Yeah.
career, be very, very, very sure that you like that because there are, and I talk a lot about it. And a lot of the videos I post are talking about like being a full-time creative or whatever because there's just some like you said like the whole point of this is like you can't learn it in school, so I'm always just trying to like give my people like lessons I've learned the hard way.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of the mind like I think you need both. Like I'm getting more like hobbies
Yeah.
now that I'm just like keeping as hobbies, and that's great for my mental health. But I don't know. For example, like I thought like, okay, cool, yeah, I'm gonna start my business and I'm not gonna have no bosses, you know? Like I work for myself. I don't even have a boss. I can do what I want. It's like, bro, if you're like an entrepreneur, creative freelancer, whatever, you got 100 bosses.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like you got to keep 100 people happy, and it always rotates. Now there is a positive part of that is like for the most part, I can kind of choose who my bosses
Yeah.
are,
Yeah.
in a way that if you're doing it with a standard job, you don't have that freedom. So there's trade-offs, but no, it's just really interesting, and no one tells you about those trade-offs.
Yeah. I think I have seen, well, one, I agree. Definitely there are some hobbies you should keep as hobbies, but I think people are I think some people are struggling because they have dreams that they feel like can be their jobs and then they let fear stifle them. But that's a whole different,
I agree.
yeah.
I agree. Some stuff I would say some stuff just got to get out. You got to get out of you.
Yeah.
That's how I am. Is like with my music. It's like because I talked about how I started. It was like a journal for me, and so I always say there's a song in my heart. And people ask me how I write so much music, and I just always think of myself like I always say it's like asking the birds why are they singing this morning. It's like that's what they were made to
Yeah.
do, and it's like they woke up with a song in their heart and they sing it, and I feel like me too, and I think a lot of people are like that, and I know people like
Yeah.
that, and they might not necessarily have that have made that outlet for
Yeah.
themselves. But it's also tough is that like being a great artist and being a great business person are two very different skills,
Yes.
like completely different skills, and being a good marketer is another
Yes.
one, or a content creator. It's like these are complete, and that's all I like to affirm for people too. Is just like the one challenge that comes with like making your creative career your like the financial lift of paying your bills. It's like your life is on the line, and it's like, and you don't necessarily like, and even if you get good at making the money, making money and
And
keeping
keeping,
money are two very different
yes,
skills.
indeed. Yes. Yes.
It's like there are so many skills wrapped into
Yeah.
it, and so that I just named five, and it's like okay, you could be the greatest artist. Like I think about Van Gogh.
Hmm.
Van Gogh sold like, as far as we know, Van Gogh sold like one painting in
Yes.
his life.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like now it's like a bajillion dollars to look at his stuff, and it's like, well, what good is that? What did that do
What
for
did,
him?
yeah.
Now I to be clear, I'm not saying he shouldn't have made the art. I'm saying he should have like got that out. Like we are better. The world is better because he made that
Yeah.
art. And I feel the same about all of our family watching this. But yeah, I would just say be really sure. Be really sure. I'm all for encouraging people. And I would also say I was just talking to my little brother about this because he's yeah, yesterday because he's really into YouTube, and that's like his generation is like
Yes.
YouTube
Everybody's trying to be
is
a
like
YouTuber.
the
Yeah.
like we wanted to be rappers, they want to be
Yeah.
YouTubers. You know what I'm saying? And he loves it, and he's passionate about it. And so I was just telling him, I'm like, one of the big things I think that most people mess up or get discouraged about is because they underestimate how many reps you have to get in to master something,
Mm.
or like how long it's going to take. And so, he thinking like, you make your like 10 videos and he's like, ain't nothing popping up. Why ain't nothing going
Yeah.
mega viral yet? And I'm telling him, I'm like, you got like, I want you to not even like, you're going to do this for like 2 or 3 years.
Yes.
Like going with that mindset,
Yeah.
like I'm gonna do this for 2 or 3 years before I see a cent,
Yeah.
or before I, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Oh yes. Oh yes. I have had to remind myself often, especially in this space where I am the first podcaster that I personally know, so it's like this is it's an isolated journey, one, and it's like two, I have had to learn how to continue to do what I love because I love it, even when
Amen.
the algorithm or the feedback is maybe not as frequent. I think, yeah, I'm with you.
And, and the dangerous part about that, when you care so much about what you're doing, is that like sometimes we can attach our
Yes.
value or our self-worth to
Yeah.
that. And so I kind of have to like I have like a literally a thing when I do like my talking videos is trying to like give people the game
Yeah.
is like I kind of have to do like I say something. I have this thing that I read to myself before I do it every time, and basically I'm just like, okay, I am not making this in service of any algorithm. I am not making this in service of my
Yeah.
ego. This is about the other person on the other end of this, even if it's just one person who sees this who actually gets something from this, and if it benefits one person, if one person gets something from this, then it's worth it.
Yeah.
That's enough for me. This is fun. This, in 20, 30 years, I would give anything to be right back here sharing
Yes. Yep.
myself. It's like just enjoy the process. Don't make it too heavy. But I have to remind myself that a lot because as creative, because we're so passionate about it, and I'm not gonna but then it also helps me to just see how dorky these like tech executives are,
Yeah.
like how and how just like unconnected to like basically they feel like aliens, and I'm like, no, this guy cannot be the determiner of
With
my
the
self-worth.
algorithm.
Just I
Y-
refuse. I refuse.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And it's so weird because that is a conversation I've seemed to have with a lot of creatives lately, about, yes, not necessarily finding your worth in the feedback, but then also to like not start to conform based on what the algorithm wants or what's trendy and things like that.
Yeah.
Like to still produce the things that you love because they are genuine to you and what you feel like your mission is or what you feel like your art represents or what you genuinely want to put out rather than, oh, okay, this is what's going to make me a hit.
And the challenge with that, or like the trap of that, is that like, okay, so you try that for like, for a month or two, and it doesn't catch on yet because like we just said, it's gonna take 3
Right.
years. And then now you're like, you don't
I
even
hate
like
this.
doing
Yeah.
what you're doing. And yeah, you don't even like it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This video essayist that goes by CJ the X,
Okay.
they said in a video, um make something that you'd be proud of, even if like negative 200 people watched
Oh,
it. Like even if like just if you just recorded it, you put it on a flash drive and you sealed it in a time capsule
yeah.
for 2,000 years, you would still be proud of
Yeah.
it. And that really changed the way I approached like all the content stuff. It is like it's just like, hey, I like this thing,
Yeah.
and I haven't thought about it through this lens, but this conversation brings it to my mind. In thinking about that 13-year-old self making those
Yeah.
beats and not showing them to anybody, if I had the feedback loop, like if I had like hate comment, like if YouTube was a thing and I had hate, would I even still be doing what I'm doing?
Yeah.
Probably not. I haven't thought about it that way, but I think that's a good insight. Like the fact that I didn't have that feedback
Yeah.
at that time was probably
Was
great because
probably
I'm sure the
better
beats
for
are
you.
trash, like the beats are trash, they're garbage, but luckily I didn't have like
Anyone to tell you why you shouldn't.
the whole world, having access to just tell you that, like, either A, tell you this is bad, thumbs down, or B, just like not caring about it.
Yeah.
That probably wouldn't have felt good either.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's tough out here.
Yeah.
We'll continue this conversation next week. But before you go, I want to introduce you to something really, really cool. You ever feel like you just need a narrator for your own life? That's where Fish Audio comes in. Instead of spending time trying to find the right pitch for your voiceovers, Fish Audio uses special technology to find a voice for you or even bring up a voice you already know. No recording required. Just give them your transcript and boom.
From Gordon Ramsay to Steve Harvey.
Fish Audio has you covered. Now go make some content. Make sure you connect with Dr. Marcus Norris and the South Side Symphony Orchestra on Instagram at Marcus Norris and South Side Symphony or on their website. And make sure you check us out too on Instagram at WSDTM Pod and our website, whatschooldidn'tteachme.com. Okay, see y'all next week.